Big breaking news in the NFL. Calvin Ridley has been suspended for at least the upcoming season for admitting to gambling on NFL games last season. He stepped away from the Falcons after Week 7. It was after that the NFL says he gambled on games, but no inside information was used to bet on those games, at least according to the National Football League. Ridley abbreviated season last year, but the season prior in 2020, he was great. 90 receptions. He was top 5 in the NFL with almost 1,400 receiving yards, and he had 9 receiving touchdowns as well. So let's hit the fantasy side of this with our guys. I'm Chris Hassel, joined by Dave Richard. Jamey Eisenberg is with us as well. Dave, this is a guy who starred on my team a couple of seasons ago, and I'm sure there's some people that have him in dynasties.
He starred on my team last season for the first 7 weeks of the season, and he was great. And then he was lost for the year, and now he's going to be lost for another year. And dynasty fantasy managers are going to have to make a choice with him. If they're playing to win now, and they've got Calvin Ridley on the bench, they might try and turn him into a trade chip in Dynasty to get something that can help them now for a fantasy manager who might be able to use Calvin Ridley later on down the line. But the problem is we don't know when down the line is for Calvin Ridley. Is it going to be 2023? Could he be banned for life Pete Rose style? There's so many things that could go down here because this is kind of sort of uncharted territory for the NFL given where they are, their stance with gambling in this day and age. I think if you've got Ridley in Dynasty, you've got a decision to make. But if you're rebuilding and you're a patient fantasy manager, you might as well hold on to him and see where he gets you.
Jamey?
Yeah, good luck trying to trade him. You're better off buying as opposed to selling because, you're giving him away, not knowing what the future holds. But this is great news for Kyle Pitts. Certainly going to see him be the featured option in this Falcons offense. And obviously, it's good timing, from the Falcons' perspective, if you want to look at it from a positive standpoint, because before free agency, before the NFL draft, they're not going to find a player of Calvin Ridley's ability in free agency minus a Devontae Adams or Chris Godwin getting loose, which we expect those guys to see the franchise tag. So they're looking at the likes of an Allen Robinson, maybe a Christian Kirk. But if you get to the NFL draft, they're going to have their opportunity to pick somebody potentially as early as 8th overall, if they want to dip their toe into the draft, to the rookie class that early. But they have options available to replace him. There was some thought that they were going to trade him. So, that's the biggest blow to the Falcons, I think, because they're going to move on. They're going to get some significant capital in return. But at this point, you're looking at Calvin Ridley not being there for the Falcons, not good for Matt Ryan trying to maybe make one more playoff run, and not good for this receiving core as a whole.
Yeah, Matt Ryan probably the best remaining quarterback in that division, and Falcons probably think, hey, if we can get our team together, have a good draft, we have a chance to win this division now with Sean Payton gone in New Orleans, Tom Brady gone in Tampa. Dave, what does this do to those other weapons, Pitts included?
Well, Pitts is the one that everybody's going to have questions about because everybody thought that alongside Calvin Ridley in this offense, he could have some monster fantasy numbers. But last year from week 8 on, I've got it here, he had a 21% target share. That's good, but the catch rate was right around 56%. That's not good. And he only had 3 end zone targets. And that was something that really frustrated fantasy managers that were expecting Kyle Pitts to have a monster year. Now, coming back this year, we know there's no Calvin Ridley. Who's going to be that guy in this offense that's going to take some attention off of Kyle Pitts? They don't have that guy right now. Jamey mentioned some free agents. That could help. Jamey and I both know that there are a lot of receivers in this draft class, but I don't know if there's any that are going to have that immediate impact that Calvin Ridley would have had that would help Kyle Pitts get open. I think the door is now open for fantasy managers to look at Kyle Pitts and say, well, yeah, he's still got the upside. He could still get the targets to be the 3rd best tight end in fantasy football. But now there's a little bit of downside too because defenses, at least at this point, know that the ball could go to Kyle Pitts a lot more often than it would have with Calvin Ridley there. They can double team him. They can take him away in the red zone. And we saw that from time to time last season.
All right, let's take a look at some of the best tight ends in fantasy football right now. And you've got the big names at the top, of course, with Kelsey and Andrews. But going into next season, you've got Kittle, Pitts, Waller. Jamey, rank them.
Pitts, Waller, Kittle, and I think Pitts is going to take that next step. We typically see sophomore tight ends break out, and I think he has the potential to do that. If you can say breaking out after a 1,000-yard season for rookie tight end, the only other guy to do that was Mike Ditka. So we know he's got the ability to be special. Obviously, the Falcons thought that way last year. You're talking to somebody who's a little bit biased, obviously, as a Florida Gator myself, but I think you look at what Kyle Pitts' potential can be. The touchdowns is the thing that people are going to look at. Matt Ryan is allergic to throwing his best players touchdowns. He had that problem with Julio Jones. We saw it with Kyle Pitts last year. But I think if he can get to that 8 touchdown mark, he's going to have the chance to be the 3rd best or in that top 3 with Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews. So Waller's a special talent. We'll see what happens with the new offense there in Las Vegas under Josh McDaniels. We know what Kittle's going to do when he's right, when he's healthy. He's missed some time the last couple of seasons, and now he has to deal with a new quarterback, most likely in Trey Lance. But I think with the loss of Calvin Ridley, expect a ton of targets for Kyle Pitts. He's a matchup nightmare wherever you put him because he can play outside, can play in line, can do a lot of different things. And so he's going to be the third best tight end for me coming into the season.
Jamey Eisenberg there, Dave Richard here, and no Calvin Ridley on the field this upcoming season for the Atlanta Falcons. Suspended, at least for this upcoming season, for gambling on NFL games. Fantasy Football Today is where you can hear those guys and Heath Cummings and many of our other experts. Download and follow the pod today.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.